The Last Prince, created by New York Times best-selling author Patrick Larkin. Chapter 3. North to War. Shortly after dawn the next day, Nikanor, Quintus and Aristeides rode out to the field of Mars. Perdiccas and his senior officers were reviewing their troops before marching north to smash the rebelling Celts. First came squadrons of cavalry, raised from among Rome's middle-ranked equestrian order. Beyond them were maniples of Roman hastati, younger, lightly armored infantry. In the center stood the army's hardcore, a pike phalanx of veteran Macedonian soldiers. Then, additional maniples of Roman infantry, these older and more heavily equipped. Finally, more squadrons of cavalry provided by other Italian allies. Once the review was over, Perdiccas' troops swung into a column of march and moved north with impressive speed. The old general planned to hit the rebel tribes before they realized what was coming their way. Nikanor and his friends rode with the cavalry squadrons at the front of the column.
We've covered a lot of ground already today. Perdiccas has his troops well in hand.
That he does, Prince. He's spent his life commanding soldiers. But you sound uneasy somehow.
This army may be unbalanced, with too many pikemen and too few light infantry. But the general's pike phalanx slaughtered the Celts the last time they attacked Rome, didn't it? It did. But that was in a battle on open ground of the general's own choosing.
Let me guess. You don't think the Celts will be as obliging this time?
They're barbarians, not fools. And now we're moving into their home territory, which is rougher and more heavily wooded. Have you spoken to the general about this? I did. He essentially told me to watch and learn from a master of war.
Did he now? Not exactly the most subtle or diplomatic reply to a royal prince.
I need Perdiccas far more than he needs me. And he knows it. So we do nothing? We just watch and learn? Yes, and hope that the only lesson we're taught is the one Perdiccas intends. Time to get back on the march. Keep your eyes open.
The army kept moving north in one long column. The border of the disputed lands was still several days' march ahead. Each day, Perdiccas sent a handful of scouts ahead, more out of habit than because he anticipated real danger. Discreetly, Nikanor deployed Demetrios and his mercenaries on the same mission, with orders to be wary. While he understood the general's urge to move quickly, a bit more caution seemed wiser. What neither Nikanor nor Perdiccas realized was that the rebel Celts already had their own scouting parties hidden among the hills and woods, lurking along every possible route north from Rome. Long before the Macedonian army crossed into hostile territory, riders spread the alarm far and wide. In the east, the 7 surviving princes continued their cautious maneuvering for dominance. Their hopes of ending the war with a decisive battle had faded. Heracles' victory had cost him a third of his army, leaving him weaker than before. He was now retreating toward Greece, hoping to put the sea between his battered force and his stronger brothers. They, in turn, realized they faced the same danger. Veteran soldiers were a precious resource. Unwilling to risk them in pitched battles, the princes instead dispatched raiding parties to pillage the lands held by their rivals, spreading chaos and misery throughout the kingdom's heartland. Appalled by the devastation, Queen Philaena, Nikanor's mother, conferred with Cleon of Athens high atop Babylon's massive walls. From there, the unfolding ruin was readily apparent. The warring princes had fled Babylon, but their claimed territories surrounded it.
This is madness, Cleon. Those fools are burning the fields and orchards that feed this city.
True, my queen. Fortunately, there are substantial reserves of food left in the royal storehouses.
For a few more weeks, perhaps. But those storehouses depend on supplies from the countryside, and when the food dwindles, our people will begin starving. The young and old first.
Long before starvation begins, rumors will spread, and with them, unrest, rioting, and disorder.
I will not allow it, Cleon. We must protect the surrounding villages from these marauders.
We have barely enough armed men to hold the walls and gates, my queen. Nothing else.
There are the retired veterans from Alexander's armies. Many have holdings nearby. Recall them to duty.
But those are old men, my queen. Too worn to stand in a line of battle.
Too old to fight, you say, to be sure. But not to train others. There are thousands of able-bodied young men in Babylon. Have Alexander's veterans instruct them?
Raw recruits? Against the regular armies of the princes, they'll be cut down like grass.
They won't face regulars. Just the raiders and thieves Nikanor's idiot half-brothers are sending. The outlying villages need aid, Cleon. And even half-trained armed men are better than none.
Very well, my queen. We will order the king's old soldiers back to service.
Within days, Felina's orders were bearing fruit. Understanding the danger Babylon faced, young men by the hundreds assembled in the city's squares. There, Alexander's aged veterans inspected them, weeding out those who lacked the strength and stamina to bear arms and armor. Once that was finished, they began the arduous process of turning apprentices, shopkeepers, craftsmen, and merchant sons into soldiers. As the inhabitants of Babylon mustered to protect their city, Perdiccas' army marched on toward the lands occupied by the rebelling tribes. After several days, the western foothills of the craggy Apennine Mountains loomed ahead. The Macedonian and Roman infantry and cavalry pushed on, climbing steadily as they entered a winding mountain pass connecting western and eastern Italy. Scouts caught fleeting glimpses of watchers on the higher ground, but saw no signs of larger numbers of enemy warriors. Still wary, Nikanor sent Demetrios and his Greek horsemen probing farther ahead. They returned the night the army reached the eastern foothills.
I'm glad to see you back safely, Captain. Did you run into any trouble?
No, we didn't, Prince. Not a single brush with the Celts. And that worries me.
Worries you? Why?
Every village we scouted was deserted, without a man, woman, child, or beast to be seen.
You think they're running? Pulling their people back before we can hit them?
Running? The women, children, and livestock, maybe. But their warriors? I doubt it. I've never met a Celt who would run from a fight. So where are they?
I see your point, Demetrios. I'll take your report to the general.
In the command tent, Perdiccas listened to Nikanor's news and concern, and then erupted.
If the Celts have fled from the nearest villages, this army must march faster, not slower! The longer it takes us to force the tribes to battle, the stronger they become.
But if their warriors aren't moving with the rest, you're risking an ambush, General.
All war is calculated risk. Your father knew that, which is how he conquered the world.
My father also knew not to underestimate his enemies. These hills and forests favor the Celts.
All the more reason to hasten the march and break out into open country.
At least deploy some of the Romans as flank guards until we reach better ground.
And have them slog through the trees, slowing the whole column? I won't waste the time. I understand your apprehension, Prince. This is your first real campaign. But I won't take counsel of your fears.
Very well, General. You command here. This army moves under your orders.
Nikanor bit down on his anger. Perdiccas would not be moved, so what more could be done to avert the army's danger?
Well, Prince, did you have any luck persuading the old man to take even minimal precautions?
The man's as hard-headed as a mule. He won't alter his orders in the slightest.
That's unfortunate, but just as you predicted, Nikanor. Given Demetrios' report, what do we do now?
Take every precaution we can. I want you both to speak to the Roman officers tonight.
They won't disobey the general for you, Nikanor. He's governed Italy for 20 years.
I'm not fool enough to think they would, Aristides. Just pass on my warning. Get them thinking. Tomorrow, you two ride with the rear of the column. I'll march at the front.
Just in case, Prince?
Just in case. And the gods go with you both.
The next morning, the army set out as usual, marching northeast along a winding, narrow valley. Perdiccas' Macedonian veterans set the rapid pace. Thick woods crowned the high ground to either side. But despite Nikanor's warnings, only a handful of scouts covered the front and flanks of the long column as it snaked through this rugged country. Hidden from watching eyes, the Celts lying in ambush crept forward to the very edge of the trees, waiting until the Macedonian phalanx came within striking range. When their war horns signaled, thousands of warriors leaped to their feet and charged, roaring down the slope toward the stunned Macedonians. They struck home with the force of an avalanche of sharp-edged swords, axes and spears, and carved a brutal, blood-soaked path through their enemies. Unable to form its bristling wall of pikes, the phalanx broke into fragments, into little knots of soldiers fighting desperately for their lives. Perdiccas, riding confidently in the middle of his veterans, watched in disbelief as the tribesmen smashed into his column.
By the gods! Hold, boys! Don't let them break you! Hold!
He rode forward to rally his men, only to be swarmed by warriors and hacked to death. His riderless horse fled in terror through the midst of the brutal fighting. Meanwhile, at the front of the column, the sudden blare of tribal war horns spurred Nikanor to instant action. He snapped commands to the Roman cavalry squadrons, ordering them to wheel and form up, facing back the way they had come, toward where the Celts were charging downhill at the stunned Macedonian phalanx. Then he rode to join the Roman infantry maniples, already swinging off the road to either flank.
Sempronius Rufus, Licinius Longus, you've deployed your troops swiftly. Good work!
The phalanx is coming apart. When the Celts come at us, we'll be ready for them.
We're not waiting for them to attack us, Centurions. We're going to hit them first.
Attack? Into that frenzy. The tribesmen are cutting your Macedonians to pieces.
Precisely. Right now, those barbarians are focused on their prey. They're sure they've already won. They're disorganized and scattered. But our infantry and cavalry are in good order, ready to strike. Advancing now will take the Celts by surprise, shattering their morale. They'll break and run.
With respect, Prince, my lads aren't as eager to gamble as your lot on horseback.
Meaning what, Centurion?
If your plan fails, my men and I will be the ones left in the shit. We'll have to stand and die while you and your horsemen bugger off back to Rome.
An insulting sentiment, Sempronius. But understandable, I suppose.
Before the centurion could say more, Nikanor swung down off his horse.
Very well, Centurions, I will lead your maniples myself, on foot, just like them. So tell me, Sempronius, will your Romans follow a son of the great king into battle?
Aye, Prince. Lead us to victory now and we'll follow you to the ends of the earth.
The ends of the earth? I can promise that. For now, we have a battle to win. So come with me. The sooner we advance, the better.
Taking his place with one of the Roman infantry maniples, Nikanor signaled the counterattack. Obeying, the cavalry and infantry stepped off, moving in unison toward the confused melee ahead. As they drew closer to the savage fighting in the center of the valley, a few Celt warriors spotted the oncoming threat and shouted warnings, but amid the chaos, they went unheard. At Nikanor's signal, trumpets sounded the charge. The Romans surged forward, crashing into the surprised tribesmen with staggering force. Holding their ranks, they carved their way through the disorganized Celts. Amid the swirling melee, a war chief named Acco turned to face the Romans. Recognizing Nikanor as the driving force behind the onslaught, he roared a challenge and sprang to meet him head-on. The two men traded blow after blow, swords hammering down on shields or ringing against each other with tremendous force. The Celt chieftain was enormously strong, but Nikanor was more agile, and in the end, that proved decisive. With lightning speed, he struck home, into the big man's shoulder, across his face and into his chest. Mortally wounded, Acco crumpled to the ground and died. Already shaken by the unexpected counterattack at what had been a moment of triumph, the Celts now broke and fled, only to run straight into a bristling wall of shields and spears. Deployed by Aristides and Quintus, more Roman infantry and auxiliary Italian cavalry now blocked any retreat. First in small groups, and then in droves, the survivors surrendered. As the fighting subsided, Nikanor sought out the senior centurion.
You were right, Prince. By all the gods, and against the odds, we've triumphed. Most of the Celts who aren't dead or dying have thrown down their weapons and yielded. But a handful of warriors bolted into the forests. Should we pursue them?
No, Sempronius Rufus. Let them run. They'll spread the word of this defeat to their tribes. The terror and despair provoked by their dire news should ease our march going forward.
We're not falling back to Rome to regroup? Even with half your Macedonians dead?
With the general dead, I command here. Unless you have an objection, Centurion.
None at all, Prince. You brought us the victory you promised. You've earned our loyalty.
Very well. I intend to keep earning that trust, and that's why we will keep going. We've gained an advantage here, though at a terrible cost in lives. I won't throw that away.
What about all these Celt prisoners, sir? What do you want done about them?
We'll bring them with us, Sempronius. I have a hunch they will prove useful soon enough. Now, if you'll gather the other centurions and cavalry officers, I'll tell them what I plan.
To Nikanor's surprise, the Romans had something else in mind first. To his astonishment, they flooded around him and began loudly shouting, "Nikanor" and "Imperator," honoring him as their general, the commander who had retrieved victory from defeat. Thousands of soldiers took up the rhythmic cry until it echoed back from the surrounding heights, and Nikanor realized he had gained an army, the first necessary step toward the throne itself. Next in The Last Prince, Nikanor must build on his hard-won success in battle, first negotiating a peace with the wily Celt tribal chieftains, and then winning over the stubborn Roman Senate and the leaders of the other Italian city-states. Meanwhile, across the Adriatic Sea, Nikanor's half-brother, Heracles, is establishing his rule over Greece and Macedon, bribing some city-states to his side, while threatening the holdouts with siege and slaughter.